All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you may be sitting, and thank you for joining us for this next level webinar, How to Manage Your Mobile Workforce, the Mobility Paradigm. This webinar was presented to you by one of our leading instructors, Dave Luby. My name is Brian. I'll be your MC for the event. So what that means that if you do have any questions, please feel free to put those in the question box. If it's anything that I can answer, I will go ahead and take care of it. If it's anything that's necessary for Dave to answer, I'll make sure that he gets to those either at the time when you ask the question, or if it's something that can wait, we'll wait till the end so he can answer all those at one time. So with that being said, this webinar is presented to you by New Horizons Computer Learning Centers. Dave, I believe the next slide is a little bit about New Horizons. So who are we? We're a proven worldwide training provider with flexible learning solutions covering a broad spectrum of topics taught by industry-leading instructors. You see a few bullet points here about New Horizons, but this is really about Dave and what he's going to present today. So I'd like to present Dave a little bit about mobility.
Thank you very much, Brian. I appreciate it. Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm coming to you from Columbus, Ohio today. Who should attend this webinar? Well, those of you that have an interest in mobile computing in the enterprise, which these days is pretty much all of us, and I'll emphasize that fact over the course of the afternoon. Those who have an interest in the mechanics and logistics of managing mobile devices. Why should you attend? Decision makers might be interested in this webinar, who may be affected by burgeoning mobile computing paradigm. Educators, certainly. More and more mobility as a domain that many classes are keying in on. CompTIA has made it a key domain, and that's increasing over time. Last of all, those people like myself who want to know why your Intel stock could not suck more these days. What we'll be talking about: bring your own device. We're going to define it. We're going to talk about the emergence of mobile computing. Separating the enterprise side from the personal side on mobile devices. Bring your own device, advantages for both personal and enterprise. We're going to tackle the question, you guys, are modern mobile devices up to the task? The ubiquitous mobile security. Forms mobile devices take. There's a case study actually coming to you from Columbus, Ohio, a major enterprise here, who is going headlong into BYOD, and I've been privileged to have them in some of my classes. Enterprise BYOD deployments. We're going to talk about one of the features that you can't get otherwise, except with BYOD deployments, geolocation and geofencing. A bit, you guys, about managing mobile devices, and just a point of interest, what CompTIA's thinking is in regards to mobility. A little bit about myself. I have a background in military field work. It's not only military, but largely. I've been an adjunct professor at Olympic College in Bremerton, Washington. And I've been an IT instructor for many years. My degrees in education, Hong Kong and Shanghai Bank, Fujifilm Medical. I've worked both for Intel and Microsoft. So, what is BYOD? Speaking of Microsoft, you all might know Steve Ballmer. He's kind of a character. Steve Ballmer, in a talk in 2012, I believe, said something impactful and prophetic. And his commentary was that the PC is dead and the notebook is next. What we hope to do is to introduce what it is that's replacing the PC and the notebook if both of those older technologies are done. I'm going to bring you some YouTubes today that cover certain points of interest. It's a little something that I do for my classes, and I'm kind of known as the YouTube guy. And I'd like to start out with the first one right now, if I may.
My name is Joe Leonard. I'm the Director of Secure Networks for Pervasive.
My name is Ernest Dunn. I'm the Senior Security Consultant with Pervasive. BYOD is Bring Your Own Device. It's essentially a movement that most organizations, regardless of vertical, whether it's government or financial or retail or finance, they're all going through at this proportion. Organizations are moving more and more away from purchasing devices for their end users and allowing them to use devices they're carrying around today.
It's a change where all of a sudden all these mobile devices are entering the workforce. Users are bringing them into work. They're connecting to corporate networks, and they're already on the network. So they brought in their iPhones or iPads or Androids, and they're connected to data, and they're actually downloading corporate data onto their devices. So they're already on the network, and now we're going back to try to figure out how do we provide the adequate level of protection to these devices as our normal corporate assets that we issue to the user.
It's a pretty big change because we're coming from a world where IT staffs have traditionally handed users managed devices. Like if you manage BlackBerry, we control it, we own it, we understand the implications of what's going on there. We have full visibility. The push is more towards these consumer-grade devices, Apple, iPads, iPhones, Android devices, which were solely based and designed for consumer markets, so they weren't designed for enterprises. So basically organizations, IT staffs are being forced to essentially react and deal with these things that are essentially changing on an ever-going basis. The challenge is how do we protect corporate data on devices, especially where we don't own them. And if someone leaves the company or if they lose their device, how do we get rid of that data without getting rid of data on the device that we don't own?
If they go to wipe the device legally, what happens if they want to wipe the corporate data, but they also wipe the user's personal data? So there's also some legal issues that need to be looked at that, each organization is going to have to get their legal departments involved, because now you're managing a device that really is owned by somebody else.
At Presidio, our security practice is comprehensive. We have a variety of integration technologies that will help customers technology-wise solve problems, but we're able to basically approach this strategically so to help customers understand kind of the use cases they want to implement. If they want to allow users to use their personal iPads to access corporate business applications, what that really means, and basically understand their existing infrastructure, how these devices are coming into the network, how they're being protected, and then help them design an overall strategy to basically address these things. We can help design that overall strategy and policy for organizations, and then on the back end help them with technology to basically implement that policy. So technology is, there's a lot of technologies out there that help this. The strategy is really the hard part for organizations, deciding what are we going to enforce, where do we want to kind of fit into this market.
We actually developed the BYOD mobile security assessment, and one of the things that we're looking at that we take into account in that is what is your future business requirements? Are you going to be doing more video, more mobile? How many users are actually going to be in a room at a time? Because what our initial thoughts are is that the traditional wireless infrastructure that they had when they placed out those access points, it's probably going to have to change. And it's going to have to be re-engineered more for that BYOD support. And that's what we are seeing with customers and the type of initiatives that customers are taking. We're going through an evolution, and we plan on staying right on the bleeding edge. We're going to be on the bleeding edge, and that's where we plan on staying. And this technology is, it's the only thing customers are talking about with us.
I might mention all that one of the most controversial parts of my Mobility Plus classes came up in that last YouTube. You might have noticed that the gentleman made mention of the fact that the enterprise very much most often reserves the right to wipe a BYOD device. And usually the criterion is pretty slim for them to do so. If you lose your phone, if you misplace it, if you report it as stolen, all those events could very well and probably will trigger a wipe directive to the enterprise on the personnel's personal phone. So, like I say, this BYOD initiative is not without its controversy. How pervasive is BYOD? Well, already it's taking off like a rocket. According to Gartner Research White Paper in 2014, these are just some of the conclusions that Gartner came to. By 2015, the number of employees using mobile applications in the workplace will double. By 2016, the typical organization will spend over $300 per year per employee on mobile applications, security, management, and support. By 2017, half of employers will require employees to supply their own devices for work purposes. The enterprise looks at things this way, you guys. In the early days of mobile computing, certain level of censure was made on the use of mobile devices within the enterprise. Then there was a period of acceptance, and now we're full swing into the third phase, which is not only acceptance of those devices within the enterprise, but the acknowledgement that while they're there, and while the employee or the personnel within the enterprise are using these devices and using them continuously, likes to use them, prefers to use them, maybe over and above the gear provided by the enterprise itself. Why not take that ball and run with it and leverage the power of these mobile devices for the good of both the enterprise itself and their personnel? The way it's done is with siloing. Siloing is a virtual divider on the mobile device where the enterprise would share one part of it and the owner of the device would share the other part. Separation of the two. Those of you that might use iOS or Apple devices, siloing is built in. It's very sound, it's very solid, and it's time tested. Android's a little bit behind natively, but Android is catching up by means of certain third-party software that's as strong or stronger than Apple's solutions. A little bit about siloing and security.
Samsung produces some of the most powerful smartphones, tablets, and wearables on the market. But what good is a mobile device without mobile security? That's where Samsung Knox comes in. Knox is Samsung's commitment to security. Industry-leading mobile security platform built into Samsung devices. The Knox platform provides a multi-layered approach to security built in right from the factory, so your device arrives protected from the hardware level to the operating system, all the way up to the application layer. So individuals, small businesses, enterprises, and governments can secure their important data. Knox protects your data from attackers through encryption, real-time monitoring, and data separation, ensuring business data stays safe and personal data stays personal. Knox provides defense-grade, government-certified security for even the most heavily regulated industries, but is flexible enough to accommodate users from any industry. From protecting an individual or enterprise, Knox keeps your device secure from the moment you power on. Samsung Knox is available on various device models in many countries around the world. Samsung devices are the best choice for business. Discover Samsung Knox. Visit Samsung.com/business to discover more about Samsung Knox.
There's other solutions other than Samsung Knox for Android, but the consensus out there is that Samsung Knox did a lot right, to say the least. It's very, very highly thought of in the marketplace today. There's advantages to be had for both the personal user and also for the enterprise. On the personal side, you guys, your personnel, mobile users quickly become highly technical, adept with their devices. They like these devices. There's really real reason why they chose them. These devices, as we'll see, come in many formats and form factors, from tiny phones all the way to large touchscreen devices with keyboards. There's absolutely lots of readily available apps. Development of apps can be quickly and securely done in-house. Enterprise personnel bring these productivities to the workplace anyway. So the prevailing thinking today is, why not harness the power and capability of these devices? Total cost of ownership for the enterprise is significantly less. The old paradigm is that the enterprise would spend inordinate amounts on purchasing, creating, obtaining, maintaining, backing up larger desktop-sized, notebook-sized devices. They found that they would become antiquated too quickly. This problem doesn't tend to occur so much with mobile devices. So it solves a lot of the ills that used to exist in the old paradigm. Employees self-select their own preferred devices. So one of the better sources of expertise on enterprise devices is literally the personnel themselves, who sought out these devices and become expert users oftentimes.
Bring your own device has many more benefits to companies and to employees than maybe was first anticipated. Initially, it was thought of as an ability to bring costs down, move costs around within an organisation. But what it's doing is bringing some unexpected benefits to a bring your own device policy. So, for example, what companies are starting to see is improvements in productivity. And that's very, very simple as to how that is happening. Given the fact that the device is being given to an employee that the employee wants to use, it may well be that that employee chooses a device which is highly portable, and therefore they're taking it with them wherever they are and whenever they're going somewhere. What that means is that not only are they using that device for what they would normally use it for example, social media, access to the internet, etc., but they are also working on applications and email which is to do with their employer than they would normally do when they're outside office hours. From the point of view of unexpected benefits to the employee, the really big one is the fact that they're able to use the form factor, to choose the form factor that they are most comfortable with, be it a smartphone, be it a tablet, be it ultrabook, a laptop, or a fixed desktop PC. It's a lot more flexible a choice, because gone are the days where everybody just worked with the same form factor. We're no longer back in the 1980s tail end of when people just had a desktop PC, or the early 90s when everybody wanted a notebook PC. We now have so many client devices available, right through from entry-level smartphones right the way up to high-end workstations, either on a rack basis, a virtualized basis, a rack basis, or a standalone basis. And with bring your own device, people can choose to use whatever they want. Those are the really unexpected benefits.
So, of course, it's not only the personnel within the organization that can benefit strongly. There's significant benefits as well for the enterprise itself, of course. such as significantly lower overall costs, much smaller data files. That's not a small deal. Data files in the days of PCs, notebooks, Wintel-based machines tend to be huge. Mobile devices tend to generate a significantly smaller, tighter, more compact, more efficient data set. One that can actually easily be transferred through the cloud for permanent storage and backup. As you can imagine, a mobile device is perfect for imaging. Often imaging is built into the mobile device. The entire device itself can also be imaged. And this is a very strong solution. Automated periodic and real-time backups can occur with BYOD devices. It could be set so that you tell your personnel that we'll simply back up your device. We're going to do that every Thursday. Not only that, but you don't have to worry about if your device is literally turned on or not. If it's not turned on and it's charging on your nightstand, let's say, we'll turn it on, we'll perform the backup, and we'll turn it off again. Also know that many enterprises today are choosing to back up both the enterprise silo and the personal silo in deference to the customer's desire to share their device with the enterprise. So the enterprise is essentially doing a favor for the customer by offering another source of backup for the personal side. Enterprise geolocation and geofencing. We'll talk about that a little bit later. These two facilities simply do not exist for all intents and purposes on older style devices. There's a single tool for managing mobile devices that's comprehensive, powerful, called an MDM, Mobile Device Manager.
Blink. Our world is changing fast. Look around and you'll see the workplace changing with it. Ties to our desk in the 9-to-5 workday have vanished. Now the world is our office. Workers now collaborate anytime, anywhere, making real-time decisions, thanks to smartphones and tablets. We're about to pass 1 billion smart devices purchased worldwide. 80% of employees are now using personal devices in the workplace. That means hundreds of millions of employees using smart devices globally, or nearly 10 times the population of Australia. Welcome to the era of bring your own device. BYOD, the most radical shift in business hardware since PCs invaded the workplace in the 70s. Mobiles are the new enterprise platform, overtaking PCs as the most common tool for web access and business usage. So it's no surprise that a solid BYOD strategy is set to be the #1 priority in the business world over the next 2 years. Businesses are looking to increase productivity by engaging with employees through choice of devices, operating systems, and networks. Everything digital is now mobile: computers, software, internet, cloud, and social media. Cloud-based services empower device and location independence. From Florida keys to circular key, the cloud is now the key to your office, allowing devices access to business-critical data from corporate networks securely, anywhere, anytime. Businesses are embracing this trend, and by 2015, there will be more than 1 billion business users of cloud applications. But this rapid expansion opens the need for some vital considerations. Security risks were the #1 concern of CIOs in a 2012 survey of Australian corporations. Organisations have accepted BYOD as inevitable and started to implement policies addressing security, governance and compliance. Businesses are regaining control through the implementation of a mobility management solution which provides necessary reporting safeguards for visibility and cost control. The right mobility management solution simplifies your BYOD strategies. It keeps an eye on the day-to-day of your business so you can look to the future, allowing the agility you need to engage your customers. The world is changing fast. To keep pace, you will need a true mobility partner. Macquarie Telecom provides choice of all three networks, flexibility on any device, any plan, anytime, and control through online management tools and web application management from Macquarie Mobility Manager. So what are you waiting for? Visit macquarietelecom.com/mobility and get mobile with Macquarie Telecom.
How ubiquitous are mobile devices worldwide? A little bit of an anecdote, something I tell my classes. So the number one word in the world, like most of the most common words in the world, are English borrowed words. And that the number one most common word in the world is okay. In second place is weekend. And in third place, it's computer. What's in seventh place? Bluetooth. Yes, Bluetooth. And the reason for that is just what you might think. People are familiar with Bluetooth from their phones. 85% of adults in the world either own or have immediate access, like through their families, to a personal computer, and that personal computer is almost always a mobile device. So how robust is mobile hardware? Well, it's really come of age. We are in the 8th generation of mobile processors today. And that 8th generation has brought us 64-bit processors we can hold in our hand. Modern devices today are low power consumption devices with rich connectivity options, embedded graphics with 4K support, which is the absolute cutting edge in displays today. They feature quad-core, fully integrated CPUs. State-of-the-art security is built into modern devices. And as I mentioned, as of last year, we've turned a corner, and 64-bit processing has come to mobility devices today. Security took a while to come to the forefront in these types of devices. But it is here today. Mobile devices excel in certain types of security that leave the older status quo behind. They are better, for instance, at encryption of data in transit than standard PCs and notebooks. They feature a type of encryption called elliptical curve, which can quickly throw up a curve, do math on 2 points of that curve, from which they derive a public-private key and form an encrypted tunnel from the device to the cloud. Once the data reaches the cloud, it's unencrypted, but shortly after, re-encrypted in secure cloud security using state-of-the-art, once again, data at rest block encryption, like AES 256-bit encryption. And of course, once you download that data back down again, either to the device or to a backup store, or maybe to the enterprise's own personal cloud, once again, data in transit, elliptical curve type encryption comes into play once again.
Androids is Martin. He works as an IT manager and is a true virtuoso on the computer keyboard. One morning, the boss calls him into his office. He would like to show Martin his latest gadget, a tablet PC. In his usual enthusiastic tone, the boss explains that he would like to use it for work from now on, which is why Bring Your Own Device is to be introduced at the company. As Martin soon realizes, this project presents various challenges and risks. How exactly is he supposed to integrate so many different devices into the corporate network securely? There are also serious legal pitfalls. Martin already feels that IT security is at risk, and he fears horrendous costs. United Security Providers knows what to do. As a reliable partner in application and network security, United Security Providers can provide Martin with expert support in implementing his Bring Your Own Device project. First, a strategy for integrating the mobile devices is prepared in a workshop with selected employees. This defines who is permitted to access which company services with which devices. The use cases are then defined and the appropriate requirements derived. The solution is designed in the next step. The basis for this is mobile device management. This allows the mobile devices to be manipulated and status information to be read out from a central point. Web access management monitors and controls internet access to the internal resources using the status information provided by MDM. Network access control monitors and controls the access of the mobile devices that want to access the corporate network via LAN or WLAN. The boss is impressed, and Martin is not only happy about receiving praise from his boss, but also that he can now finally use his own tablet PC for work.
I might mention that Apple is leading the way in security on their devices. Not that Android is not far behind, but those of you that have an iOS device from Apple might have an advantage that you might not even know about. 4 years ago, 5 years ago or so, Apple was the first to encrypt all their storage places on all their iPhone and iPad devices, and encrypt them by default. This can be accomplished on Androids as well, but the speed of the processing power on Androids tends to vary. That doesn't happen on Apple. Apple has the advantage that they build both the hardware and the software. So the hardware's capability and power is predictable. That doesn't necessarily happen on the Android side. So although you can encrypt, and it's recommended that you do so, all the storage devices on your Android as well, the difference between the two is that's the default condition on the Apple, but it is made optional on Android devices these days. There are certainly challenges to mobile computing. The whole technology is in its infancy. It's developing. Security issues, compliance issues. Compliance is a big deal. It's not that medical facilities, for instance, do not use mobile devices. They absolutely do. And like most enterprises, they would like to use them more. But it's also true that medical facilities probably have more compliance regulations than anyone else. HIPAA being the one that comes to most people's minds immediately. It's not to say that mobile devices can't meet the needs of compliance regulations, and they do so. It's just that they often will provide challenges to accessibility, storage challenges, finding a media to call up immediate records, which compliance often calls for. All these are made more complex by the young fledgling mobile computing paradigm we have today. Network and application compatibility sure can be difficult in that the standard protocols we've been using in modern network for many years now are sometimes compatible and sometimes not. The financial picture for an enterprise adopting a BYOD solution is a mixed bag. Pretty much it's accepted that in the long run, the enterprise will spend much less on their computing snapshot. However, the task to build the infrastructure for BYOD computing also exists. So sometimes switching over to a whole new paradigm of rolling one's own cloud, setting up one's own security, setting up systems to ensure compliance on these mobile devices can be initially time-consuming and expensive, such that the return on investment for many of these enterprises is only realized in the long term more often than in the short term. And then there's always employee privacy. Employees, for instance, will, of course, sign an acceptable use policy. And it often has it, interestingly enough, that the enterprise might have a clause in that acceptable use policy that says that the enterprise owns final rights to things like the mobile device's camera and microphone. So it means just what you think it is, that the enterprise will often reserve the right to operate your mobile device's camera and microphone, and often that can be controversial as well, so you can well imagine. So let's ask the question that came up earlier. If desktops are dead and notebooks are next, what's taking their place? These devices, you guys, are often called transformers. They feature solid-state devices rather than mechanical drives. They tend to be very small, but have highly advanced screens, some of the most advanced in the industry today. They're part tablet, part PC. They're light, fast, technologically advanced. They feature high-end features such as new generation, high-resolution touchscreens, exceptionally long battery life, sometimes up to 14 hours, by the way. Modern, powerful multi-core processors, small form factor, lightweight, highly transportable. Many of them feature full Windows 10, the very latest, with Microsoft Office capability, integrated cameras, compact keyboards, onboard GPS, sometimes a stylus.
versatility and its amazing design with my incredible new NBX 2. It's got a mode for every move. I can start with the all-in-one mode. I just detach from the backlit Bluetooth keyboard and break free. Now I can work anywhere. And with a simple click, I'm in notebook mode, bringing the office home in style. The fully adjustable stand gives me a fresh perspective on my work. And when I need real flexibility, it's tablet time. The massive touchscreen just blows me away. With Beats Audio, I'm immersed in the best-sounding audio experience on PC. Notebook, tablet, all in one.
Some use cases for BYOD, Microsoft Office and its necessity in the field, schools, rugged environments, all of which are specialties for mobile BYOD initiatives. Rugged environments tend to benefit especially for mobile devices. Some of them tend to be waterproof. They can be placed in rugged cases. Hard drives tend to have no moving parts and there are no fans. If there were fans, what could happen is in a rugged environment where there would be maybe oil, suspended oil or particulates in the air, fans tend to drive those particles into the case of an old style computer or notebook. You never have that problem with mobile devices. The hard drives have no motors either, so they can accept rugged use, jars, bumps, even being dropped to the floor with very little consequence. As a case study, right here in Columbus, let's just say there's an insurance company that you probably know from their commercials. They're very well known. They're going wholesale to this paradigm. They feel it's right for them. They realize that their appraisers, claims adjusters, examiners, investigators, sales representatives, if they're doing their job, you guys, they're not going to be behind their desk. They'll be in the field. With a mobile device, also, you've got this organization has a greater than average need for pictures, and mobile devices satisfy that need as well. Geolocation and geofencing are also made available through local mobile devices. Geolocation, you guys, is locating enterprise personnel by means of their mobile GPS. Interestingly, by the way, you might be surprised to know that a modern mobile device generally contains more than one GPS, such that you can even locate an individual if their device is powered off. Why would a manufacturer build in a GPS that works when it's powered off? What they will say is if your phone is lost or stolen, then a technology is built into that mobile device such that they can locate it anyway, even with no onboard power, even if it's not powered on. Geolocation in the home.
Geolocation can send you little reminders if you're away from home. Make sure you set it up at home, as Hive uses the location you're in when you activate it. You'll find it in the main menu. Simply switch it to on. Next, set trigger area leaving. This is how far you want to be away from home before Hive asks you if you want to turn your heating off. You can then set the temperature you want your home to be when you're away. Next, in trigger area returning, set how close to home you want to be before Hive checks if you want to turn your heating on. Now just set the temperature you'd like your home to be when you're there.
Geofencing can be described this way. Classically, the way to explain it is take a map, draw a circle on that map, and determine how many Chinese restaurants are within that circle. Geofencing can be alerted if someone with a GPS active device crosses the fence into the geofenced area or departs that geofenced area, either one. The insurance company I mentions this advantage. Say that there's a bad wreck on the highway, and several agents are dispatched with mobile devices, with mobile cameras, to take pictures as quickly as they can before the sun goes down. It's quickly realized that more enterprise personnel will be needed for the job in that area. It's easy to identify where those personnel might be because the circle could be drawn around the accident area, and agents within that circle could be easily identified and contacted remotely with the request that they show up at the accident site and see if they can get the picture taking task done as quickly as possible. Geofencing is used by marketing as well, so that literally ads could come across your phone from a commercial enterprise that might be within a certain mile radius that you've just crossed into. Mobile devices are managed with a mobile device manager. These handle provisioning, deprovisioning, upgrades, updates, security. Devices need not be at the enterprise to respond to management commands. Enforces domain active group policy objects. Once again, sometimes the devices don't even need to be turned on, interestingly enough. Your MDM can also manage desktops, laptops, printers, even infrastructure devices like switches and routers. Two brand names that are common in the industry today is Good MDM, made by Good Incorporated. Another one that is extremely powerful and flexible is Cisco Meraki. It's expensive, but it can not only manage your mobile devices, but even things like switches and printers on your infrastructure. And the very last YouTube.
BYOD, bring your own device, is no longer a theoretical proposition. 80% of companies have employees bring some sort of personal device into their environment and using it for work. This allows companies to be more efficient in terms of their IT expenses. It makes happier workers who can use devices that they themselves have purchased and like. However, it creates some very significant security vulnerabilities. If a worker is using a non-corporate device, the IT cannot be completely confident of what is on that device. There might be viruses or malware. They might be accessing from an unsecure network, a public Wi-Fi, a Starbucks. The challenge is that the data that is on that device can no longer be effectively protected. The challenge for IT is that they are going to need to ensure that the devices, and more importantly, the data that is on those devices, is protected at all times. If an employee was to move patient records, employee records, valuable IP onto their personal device, and that device gets lost, how do you ensure that the data on that device remains secure? How do you ensure that the data is not lost and you're facing significant security fines, or you lose valuable IP? It is critical that there is a policy that is enforceable that allows you to consider what types of data your employees are accessing, where they're accessing, and how they're accessing it. And most importantly, have security capabilities on the device that can protect that data if the device is lost or stolen. Additionally, consideration must be given to the location that the employee is working for. Public networks are increasingly unsecure. So additional consideration must be given to how do you protect that employee from new malware variants, advanced persistent threats, spear phishing, wiring hole attacks. All of these could attack that end user's personal device and then infect your corporate network and or steal data. So protection must be thought of not just from a device perspective, but also a network and a solution perspective of the user.
Very good. Thank you very much, my friends. It's been my pleasure to join you here today. I'd like to open up the session for any questions that you might have at this point, and thank you for the invite. I had a very good time joining you this afternoon.
Dave, yeah, a couple questions did come up while you were speaking. So the first one is, if the company supplies the device, are there still legal issues to cleaning personal data from the device?
Yes, there are. Absolutely.
Curious what is being done with the amount of desktops, computers, since we have leaner and faster options. Well, I guess
right. No, it's a very good question, and the way that's generally handled is this way: that the enterprise, of course, has their stake in that mobile device. The device owner also has the personal side. Normally, however, and by the way, that personal side is their personal side. And the acceptable use policy generally has language like this. It will say, we have no interest in your personal side, nor can we even access it. We can, however, destroy it. We can wipe your whole phone. We'll do what we can, sometimes they'll say, to protect the backup of not only our enterprise side, but your personal side. But they will point out that the personal side has the advantage that both the applications and the personal data are usually backed up quickly, immediately, almost in real time often, and that a phone can be reconstructed on its personal side quite quickly through facilities like iTunes, Google Play Store, and Microsoft Store. So are there legal ramifications? Well, it is laid out in the acceptable use policy. Generally, what's stated is that the enterprise has no interest in the personal side, but that if data is lost, it's up to the user to restore the personal side of that silo.
The next one was what is being done with large monitors and desktop computers to cleaner and faster options.
Yeah, just barely heard you, but that's all right. I think I understood the question, Brian. No, I can speak to that actually. Just today, my personal phone, which I have in my hand right now, downloaded what is becoming quite common, and that's a utility that will broadcast the screen of my mobile device to a large screen monitor, flat screen monitor. And certainly as well, input devices such as mouses and keyboards can also be attached through Bluetooth, let's say, wirelessly, to operate a mobile device of any kind, such that the experience will be much like working on a small computer while they're in their office.
Okay. Then next question, what does BISD stand for in the last video, in that video about school and students with cell phones?
You know, there's some background noise that you barely heard that. Once again, ISD, ISB.
Yeah, what does BISD stand for, yeah?
Oh, gotcha. You know, I have to look that up. I did notice that as well. Just one moment. And I'm going to have to plead the fifth on that, Brian. How's that for an honest answer?
Okay.
I'm not finding it easily. I would have to look that up.
Okay. And then the last question was, do you have a sample mobile policy that you might be able to share with them?
Yes. Now, I'm not prepared for that, but I might mention that there's acceptable use policies that are available at many places on the internet. I'll give you an example. I provided a half dozen of similar places where free templates and sample acceptable use policies and so on could be made available to project management people. Just finished a project management class yesterday. There are similar places, Brian, for general use, enterprise level acceptable use policies. You can find them by the dozens and pick a template, then customize them for your own particular needs for there. Another very good question.
And that looks like it's it. So I'd like to first, and we're about out of time, so I'd like to say thank you, Dave, so much for taking the time out of your day to do this for us. And I'd like to say thank you to all the attendees for taking time out of their day to join us. We will be sending out an email shortly, sometime this afternoon, with a link to a recording of this if you'd like to go back and review it. So once again, thank you everybody so much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you on another one of our webinars. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks, everyone.